Greetings everyone. In this video we'll review our notebook software. This will be part 2 where you learn some more features. The items that you see in this video will be on your quiz as well as what you took notes on last week. To start, you need to know that the newest version of the notebook software is 16.2. Now if you've downloaded this on your own, you would have seen this. For example, if you put it on your own machine, you get it for free for 45 days. You'll see this. If you're using this in the lab, we do not have the newest version on the lab computers. So you'll need to know that the newest version is 16.2. And let's take a look at our objectives for the day. This is what we'll be talking about. I won't read all of these to you. There's a couple on here that we started talking about that we didn't quite get to or we didn't quite finish, so I'll review those so you'll have that for yourself. And with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Let's go to our page sorter tab. We'll start with components. Now with the components, this just means what it takes to make the smartboard work or to make that process work. You need 3 pieces of equipment. You need the computer that has the software installed, you need the interactive board, and you need a light source that projects that image from the computer so that you can see it on the board. Now we do know from our discussion last time that there are some projectors that do not need a board and they just need any surface in the classroom. But the basic setup is that you need a surface, a light source, and a computer with the software. So those are the basic 3 components you always need. If anything ever broke down in that process, it's good for you to know what's going on, because sometimes you may have to troubleshoot in your own classroom, especially if you don't have a live-in tech person. Our next topic here is Orient. Now when we orient, this means that we make sure that the touch on the board is precise. And by precise, I mean where you put your finger or where you wanted your finger to be, the cursor actually shows up at that place. For example, if I wanted to click on this O with my finger on the smartboard, the cursor should end up right there on the O. If this is off for any reason, if I try to click on the O, the cursor might be at the end of the word. And that would tell me that I need to orient because the touch is not precise at that point. Now you can't see this in the notebook software right now. You do have to be connected to a board in order to see that feature, but now you know what it means to orient. And moving right along to our next topic, erasing content. Now there are a few different ways to do this. We can use our traditional delete like you would in any other software. So if I type this word, I can click here and I can click this drop down menu and choose delete, or now you won't be able to see me do this, but I can just click the delete on my keyboard and the same thing happens. Now if I want to use the erase feature, which is right here, so this is another way to erase content. So we just saw delete, but we also have an eraser, kind of like it's just a digital version of the eraser you would use on a chalkboard. So I'll grab a pen tool, and then let's say I write the number 3 and I want to erase that. I just grab the eraser. You could choose the size you want depending on what you need to erase. You just erase it like you normally would on a chalkboard. Now let's say for some reason you have a bunch of content and you want to get rid of it quickly. You don't want to erase every individual item. You can draw a circle around it, tap in the center, and make it disappear. So I'll start here, draw my circle around it, tap in the center, and it disappears. So now you know different ways to erase content. You can use the delete key, you can use the delete from the drop down menu, you can use the circle and tap in the center method, or you can use your erase tool depending on what you're trying to erase. Alright, our next item is resistance, and this has to do with why teachers may or may not want to use interactive boards in the classroom. And this could be extended to almost any software. These topics are general in nature that you'll see in a moment. So one and done professional development. This means that someday of the week the school organizes a professional development. Someone comes in, they teach you something, and then you never hear or see from them again because the school never sets it up. That's a one and done PD, and we know that that doesn't work well. Good professional development has to be reoccurring and supported over a period of time. So that's one reason why a teacher may resist, because they may not feel like they're going to get the support they need. Then there's this idea of getting new skills. So if I have a set routine and I'm not too keen on learning new things or learning new skills, then I may resist that new technology because it may take too much time, it may be too hard, I may not have a vision for what that technology can do. So there's different reasons why teachers don't want to get new skills or don't want to use technology. And then last, we have a lack of support. And this extends from the one and done PD resistance, because the lack of support could mean that there's no one to show teachers how to use technology. For example, some schools will buy stuff sometimes and then they don't give any support on those tools at all because they spend the money on the tool, but then there's no PD, there's no follow-up with it. So those two are related. So that's what we have. We have one and done PD. Teachers may not want to learn new skills for a variety of reasons, and there may be a lack of support provided to the teachers. That's why there may be some resistance. So let's go to our table feature. We started talking about this a little bit in class, and you know how to insert the table. You just click this object and then you build your table. Now the next thing that you need to do is figure out, well, how can I use this table? One simple way to use it is to use it like you would any other way. You can use tables to organize information. You can use tables for classifying information. But here we can also go a step further. So if we just wanted to classify items, we could put headings and then we could have students drag images in. And notice how these images are directly into the table, so that if I did a search for images, I could just drag this over and it'll drop in the table. And that works the same way for your own images. For example, if you wanted to go around your classroom and take pictures of items that kids should know, or things in the community or down the hallway or somewhere in the school, you could take pictures of those images and bring them into your notebook software, make headings, and then do that drag and drop, and then you could have students classifying objects or classifying whatever it is, whatever that content is. Now you notice that there's a shade feature on this cell. So there's a couple things you can do. If you click the drop down menu and you choose to add add cell shade, that's how you do that. And when I click on it, it goes away. And if I click on this corner, then it comes back. And that's similar to this shade feature up here, except it's for tables. Now over here you notice that there's a cell missing. So what I did there is I just deleted it. So if you click in the cell and you click the drop down menu, you can choose to delete the cell. Now this should give you an idea about something that you can make. And I'll give you a hint. It is something you probably played. Your parents and grandparents have probably played with them. You find them at the end of magazines. You can find them in newspapers. And some of them are easy and some of them are really hard depending on which ones you're doing. The newspaper ones tend to be really hard. I'll let you figure out what that is, but you can use the table to build what I'm talking about, and hopefully you can figure out what these missing pieces would let you build if you were using this table feature. Alright, let's go to our next one. And over here we have pull tabs and we have the magic pen. So I'll drag this back in here, and then this one I will delete. So when I got to this page, this is a title. Now it says pull me, but you would actually put a title there that's relevant to the content. So when I pull this out, I had a tab and I pulled it out. Thus it's called a pull tab. And on this, what we'll learn about is a zoom and spotlight feature. And there's one additional feature we'll learn about the magic pen tool that I didn't list here. So that's the pull tab. And the way you make a pull tab is very simple. If you look at this, you'll probably notice how simple it is. It's two shapes, in this case a rounded rectangle and a circle. It's some words here, title for what it is, and then the actual content, whatever that might be. And then there's a grouping that went on. So I can build this pretty quickly. The main thing is to have your content ready, because once you have the content, then making the pull tab, and you can do this with any shapes you want. So I'll use this star. So if you wanted to put a different shape there, it's pretty easy to do. That goes there. And then I'll do and whatever you would need to type there would go in there, and then whatever content, whether it's an interesting fact or something you wanted to be reminded of to tell students, or it could be a list of items that you want to remind students of, but that content goes here. Once everything is in place, you highlight, drop down, and you choose group. And notice this keyboard shortcut here. The more you use the software, you can use keyboard shortcuts to speed your work process up. So now once everything is grouped, you notice it all moves as one. Then it slides over here. And that's how you do a pull tab. And that's what pull tabs are used for. Now let's get to the magic pen. So we've done the pull tab side of this. Now we'll do the magic pen side. Click on the pen tool. Click on that drop down menu. Go down to the bottom and choose the magic pen. I'll perform 2 actions here and let you see what happens. So here's the first action. And I want you to think about what I drew and what happened when I drew it. Now if you pause and answer that question to yourself before I say it, it may help solidify that in your memory. So what I did here was draw a circle and then it made a spotlight. So I can do that anywhere on the image. So let's say now I'll do the second action, which again it'll be a shape that I'll draw. This time something slightly different should happen. Didn't quite work there. Let's try it one more time. This time, when I drew the rectangle around it, it did something different. And in this case, it did the zoom. So drawing a circle around some point on the picture will create a spotlight with the magic pen tool. Drawing a rectangle around parts of an image will use the zoom feature. Now the third thing I want to show you, which wasn't in our list, is this, and I'll let you see what happens. You should see something start to happen in a few seconds. I'm writing words. And now you should see what's happening to those letters. So I won't state what happened because I think you saw what happened. So that's the magic pen and the pull tabs. Next we have the activity builder. Now when you want to do the activity builder, you want to think about either categorizing something, you want to do fill in the blanks, or you can get more creative, but that's the general idea. You want to put things in some kind of order. So here I have just something simple, even and odd numbers, and I've started with a shape, a rounded rectangle, which you need to do. So you pick your shape, and then once you pick your shape, you need to fill in that shape. And some of you mentioned certain ways to fill it in, and they would be good normally, but here what I did is I used the properties because I wanted this eyedropper. I grabbed the eyedropper, and when I click on this, it makes the inside of my shape the same as the background page. Now that may not matter to you, I just wanted to show you that feature, but I did that here because I wanted it to be consistent. And then once I did that, I also cloned that rectangle so that I could have the exact same rectangle and be the exact same size and everything. And now I'm ready to build my activity. So all I need to do now is to click on it. And you do need to fill in the shape that you use for the activity builder. So make sure that you know that in the process. You do have to make the shape and then fill it in to make it work. So if some of you experience that not working for you, that could be it. So the next thing I'll do here is once I highlight it is click on the activity builder tab. And notice it has reset here. That's because I've already built this, and that won't be there until after you build it. You select edit, and now what I can do, since I want even numbers here, it says accept these objects. So of course what goes here are the even objects, and then I want it to reject the odd objects, which would go here. And you see the corresponding X and check mark on each one of those. Then you would select done. You do the same thing for the odd. Now this doesn't have to be 2, this could be 3 or 4, this could be whatever you want it to be, so be creative. I don't want you to be limited to what you see here. But again, you click on the shape after you have it filled in, and then you click on edit, and you do that same process again. And now it's ready to go. So I'll click done there. And something else you might want to do, you notice how my rectangle moved a little bit there. If I go here and choose lock, that'll prevent that from happening. So now what I want to do is to ask the class which numbers are even. So let's say somebody says 1. I want that to drag there, but then pop out because it's wrong. And if I ask for an odd number and someone says 2, I drag that there, that pops itself out as well. So when I get it right, it should fade away. Now it fades away because that's just what it's set to do. So if you go over here to the settings, you can change that if you want in the animation part right here. There's also another little feature here about playing object sounds. You can test that one out. That won't be on the quiz, but you might want to test that out for yourself. All right, and that's your activity builder. Now, like I said, that could be fill in the blank. That could be what I'm doing here. It could be organizing different types of animals. It could be whatever it is you can think to be clever enough to do. You can do it with images, numbers, letters, phrases, anything that you desire to do. So I want to stop for a second here to talk about this auto hide feature. At the bottom of the page sorter tab, you'll notice there's a little check mark here and it says auto hide. So when I click here, notice what happens. I click on the page sorter, it opens up the page. I click out on the space, it collapses. Click on the page, it opens. Click in the space, it collapses. That's because that feature is highlighted. Now if I uncheck that, when that's checked, then you're able to use the auto hide. And again, all you have to do is click in the open space for the auto hide if that is checked. All right, let's move on down to the infinite cloner. Now we started with this a little bit. You notice this is a little activity that I created based on, this is called making words. It's something that you might find in reading/language arts. So you scramble the word, and you may have done this when you were in school, and then you make smaller words. And this is good for kids to do so that they can begin to see how words are made. And they can also see that if you change letters around, you can make new words. So this gives them all kinds of practice with doing stuff like that and spelling. And then you might give them a hint and tell them that this is a day of the week, and they have to unscramble this and get the right word. So that's just another way to use a table as well as the infinite clone feature. Now you notice up here when I'm ready, I can drag a letter down. That infinite clone feature is nice because I don't have to retype these letters, and when you put the clone feature on, it automatically locks the letters in place, or whatever the object is in place, which may come in handy so that you don't accidentally move stuff around, move the elements around on your page. All right, and so that's just another example of the infinite clone feature as well as using your table. Next, we'll go to our screen capture tool. On this one, I want to let you investigate because it'll do some things that you can see happen. So what you should do, there are 4 features. Test each one of them and write down what happens. So that first, what you need to do is go to View, and then you want to choose Screen Capture Toolbar, and then here are the 4 features, and you click on them, and on this one it lets me do something like that. That's called freeform. Then over here, this does something a little different. It gives you some directions. So you should test those out and see what they do and take notes on what they do. And you should be able to see, this part will tell you exactly what that particular feature did. And that's the screen capture tool. All right, last thing we'll talk about is linking. So this is similar to what we've done in other software. In order to link something, all you have to do is to type something, type a phrase, like here I have Salisbury University. Click the drop-down menu, go down to the bottom and choose link. And from here, I have different options. I can link to a web page because that's what that's set to now. And since that's Salisbury University, I would just type www.salisbury.edu. And notice here I can insert an icon, a corner icon, or an object. In this case, I'll just do corner icon. Now it puts a little globe there to let me know that that's a website. That could come in handy because if you don't put that there, you may forget that you have a link, but if you know what you're doing, then you can certainly feel free to do either one of those. You can also link to items in the attachments tab. So remember when we talked about the attachments tab, we said how we could get files here. Now notice on 16.2, your options here are slightly different. You have a globe, and of course that's just, you just put a link and you type the name, just like we just did. And you also have this insert, and this wants you to go get the copy. It makes you get a copy of the file here. And before, when you clicked on that, there were 3 options, but now in this newer version, you see that it just forces you to get the copy of the file, which is what we highlighted anyway, that the copy of the file is, you should probably get in the habit of doing that so that you don't forget. And that's how you link. Now, you can also link sounds. So for example, let's say that you wanted to do a lesson that had to do with definitions of words, and you wanted kids to hear it. So you know how to make audio, you know how to make an MP3 file, you know how to save that MP3 or export that MP3, and you know how to make a link to it, or you know how to put the actual file in your attachments tab. And once it's here, it's an audio file, then you're able to link to it. And you can, so that's another way you can make your own content. And remember what I talked about with trying to integrate your tools now. All the skills that you have now, you should start thinking that, well, how can I use audio over here? And you can just tell yourself, oh, I can go record something, make a file, and then in the notebook software, I can link to it so that you have your own audio file. And that's one way that you can start to make content and get creative with what you do. So one more thing I want to show you, and this will be the last thing. Now, as you're building your lesson, notice at the top here, I started with a title page, and that's what you should do as well. So to find those, you should know that you go to the gallery, and if you type in title page, you'll get these options. Notice it says notebook files and pages, and then here you can go and select your pages and fill in the information. It has like teacher name, objective, grade level, that sort of stuff, everything that you would do for your lesson. And so that's how your title page starts. Make sure your notebook file starts with a title page. And your title page should have some introductory information like I have here. Now I didn't put a lot, but you should fill in yours so that it's informative. And the last thing I'll show you, as you're building your lesson, you may want to turn on the alignment, because some people like to have perfect alignment and make everything look nice and neat and clean. So if you go here and choose to show guides for active objects and snap objects to guides, this will help you line your content up pretty easily. Now you can turn on these two as well. This will put a vertical and horizontal line on your page if you need it. You select those, you click apply settings. Now once you've done that, now if I were to move this, you see that red line that pops up when I go left? It's trying to make me a line there. If I wanted to make sure that this is centered somewhere, I can also type another word. And let's say I want to line up the word word with introduction. You see that vertical red line that lets me know that those two are lined up. I can also line them up horizontally as well so that they're on the same line. It'll make your pages look neater if you have those guides on to help you. But you don't have to do that. That's just a little suggestion in case you would like to use that. Now there's several other features in the notebook software that you should explore. There's no way that you can really learn everything in one sitting, so I do suggest that you play around with the software, and that's the best way to learn about technology is to actually go use it. All right, now you're ready for your quiz, which will be opening up shortly.